Alright, I'm out here at Dave's. Been working on his Camaro, got everything wired up and all that stuff. This will probably be the first time this motor's run in, how many years? 6 years? 10 years?
I'd say 6.
6 years. The mechanical fuel pump isn't priming, so I'm going to probably end up having to put an electric pump on it. But I did just fill the bowls with fuel, so I just want to grab the camera and put it on the car. So you can see the very first startup of this thing in a very long time. Alright, I guess go ahead and... We put an electric pump on it, it'll sit there and run, dude. It'll sit there and run.
Got to, man. Oh my
Yeah, it just needs a little bit more timing. But she'll run. There ain't nothing wrong with that motor. That's a good sounding motor.
Yeah,
But what we'll have to do like that is just fire it, put water in it, hook the electric fan up, fire it, go straight to 2,000 RPM for 20 minutes. We'll push it outside or something and just run it. And but there you go.
Little turnover it did. It started weaving.
Yeah, but there's Dave's. This is Dave's Camaro, folks, and he has not had this thing out in a very long time. And like I said, that's the first time that motor's made noise in 6 years.
First car ever I bought when I was 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Dave is he's not a mechanic, he's a paint and body guy.
Auto body.
Yeah, but he does really good. He's good at what he does, that's for sure. Awesome. But yeah, we'll get him a fuel pump, and I'll wire up his electric fan, wire up electric fuel pump, and we'll pull this thing outside and fire it and let it run and make sure the cam's good and broke in. Carburetor should be just about perfect. I mean, it hit right off, so.
Yeah, that was really cool.
So good. Good. But that's, when I do them carburetors like that, that's why I put them on my motor and I run them in to where they have a base tune in them. Yeah. That way I know they'll at least start. I'm not like, oh, it's going to leak here, leak there. It just hit, and then they go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right. That is cool right there.
That is cool.
But all right. We will cover her up. But even with it running, spinning as fast as it was, it still didn't pick up any fuel, which tells me the diaphragm's bad in that pump. Yeah, because it should have picked up fuel because it was still in the tank. All right, I've got the electric fan mounted, fuel pump mounted, fuel lines run. Just doing wiring. Wired the whole car, front to back. Got everything where it should work fine. Now I'm just buttoning things up so that we can spin it over and fire it and actually run it and maybe get this thing broke in. Alright, I've been working on Dave's Camaro and I finally got the wiring sorted out. It was a mess to say the least. But I got it sorted out. Everything comes on when it's supposed to, goes off when it's supposed to. I got his gauge. He's got this digital gauge thing that does the digital readout of everything. Got that in. Once I fire this up, I'll be able to test that and make sure that the oil pressure's there, all that stuff. So just gotta check, make sure the fuel pump is sealed up, and I'll start this thing. I guess see if it'll fire up and then shut back off. Alright, we need to push this sucker out yonder and get some fans behind it and break in a cam. Oh, it needs water in it. Alright, we are about to break in Dave's Camaro. Fired up, run at about 2,000 RPM for about 20 minutes, and hope that everything stays good. This is a very nerve-wracking ordeal breaking one in, but has to be done. Because we don't know if the people that done the motor broke it in or not. Probably hadn't. Alright, we are about 14 minutes and 20 seconds into break-in, and the motor has not changed pitch the entire time, which is a fantastic sign. That means the cam is probably fine, everything's probably fine, because it's had the same whoa all the way through. It's not changed pitch or nothing like that, so it's probably just fine. We're gonna run it for another 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'll bring it down and set the timing and adjust the mixture, and then give her a few blips with the throttle. I do got to put a plug in that spark plug, which I got some in my box, number 7s. It's trying to fire, but it just keeps missing. You can hear it out of the exhaust on this. I just blah 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 blah. But other than that, it's going good. This has been a long time coming for Dave to have all the electrical working, his gauges stuff working, and get in and start it and shut it on and off. It's pretty cool. 3 different shops this thing's been to, and none of them did what they're supposed to do. But cool. This was Dave's. This was your first car, wasn't it?
First car. Yeah.
That is so cool. But he's got all the pieces, all the interior. He's gonna paint it and do all the. We're gonna put that sheet and stuff, that sound deadener, all in it, and put the interior and stuff in it. It's just after this we'll move on to brakes, and then just put it all back together. But everything is working good. Awesome.
Close to it. 47 years.
Yeah. Man, that's a long time.
This car.
That's a long time. Yeah, we'll tune back in here after the break-in's over, and I'll bring it down and start adjusting it. But so far, so good. Knock on wood. All right, just brought it down. That's the break-in. I'm going to pull a dipstick and look at the oil, make sure there's no material or nothing in the oil. And I'm going to put a plug in number 7. And then adjust the timing and fire it up and let everybody hear it. I mean, it sounds sounds good. I like it. All right, timing is at 15 degrees initial. I just give it a couple pump shots. You got to excuse the whining because that's the converter. The converter's not bolted to the flex plate, and it keeps touching it and going, but there's no trans fluid or nothing in it, so I had to disconnect it. But that will be hooked up. Trans cooler will be on there, all that stuff. But his motor is good. It's broke in. There's nothing in the oil. That is awesome. Spins over, first rotation, fires. Time is at 15 degrees initial. It's probably totally full advance in at probably 2,500, 2,600, somewhere like that. I zung it up to probably 5,500, 5,600 RPM, and it flung this belt off. So we're probably gonna see if there's an upgrade for this, a different type pulley system, because it just flings it off. This is one of the early versions of this. Either that or just put regular pulleys or something on it, either way. But I call that, yeah. And also the intake gasket, we're going to put a different intake gasket on it because this one, it's sat for so long it just ain't sealing. And the back, they didn't put silicone on it when they put the intake on, so. About 3 hours and that'll be all fixed. I'll take everything off, pop the intake off and put it back together with a good gasket. But so for years, this thing, I mean, when he did fire it up, what, 5 or 6 years ago, would you hear it for like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, just for a brief second? It's done sit here and run for 20 plus minutes, and it sit there and idle and fired up, and she's alive, dude. The gauges and stuff work, so now we can start buttoning everything up. But we'll bolt the converter up, put trans fluid and stuff in it, put the trans cooler, hook all that stuff up, and then put the mufflers on it. And that's another thing too about if we would put the exhaust on it, I can't get to the transmission. I have to take it all back off again anyway. So, but that's pretty good. I'm gonna put that belt back on, and that way you can get in there and fire your car up. All right, put the belt back on, and I guess Dave is going to climb in there and start his car. Like I said, the converter is touching the flex plate, so everybody just ignore that. It's just something you're going to have to live with. Alright, they just let me borrow this. This is a wideband deal, which tells me what the air fuel and all that stuff is doing. I've never ever used anything like this before, so I'm gonna put this on there and see what it does. I mean, pretty cool. Do a little bit of shakedown on the 74. Alright, we are over here at Mike Watson. I'm going to run the 74 out a little bit. But I'll probably do a few 60-foot launches and leave on the two-step and then without the two-step and just stuff like that. So, we'll see. That captures everything. See my draggy. All right, I mean, everything feels good. I'm only shifting to about 5,000, but feels good. Good oil pressure, all that good stuff. That wanted me back over here in front of these trains so he could take his picture. It's pretty cool. There you go. Pretty damn fancy, ain't it?